Hola, esta semana tuve la oportunidad de visitar la fábrica de Avis Audio en Buffalo, Nueva York, cuando venía de regreso a visitar a Juliet en Michigan. Así que te voy a compartir la entrevista que le hice a Joe y a Eric, los ingenieros de la compañía Avis. Tengo también un tour de la fábrica, me imagino que se lo compartiré luego, quizás el domingo en vivo. Así que no te lo pierdas, suscríbete y aprieta la campanita. La música que estás escuchando es de mi álbum Bel Canto Concerti for the English Horn, que está disponible ahora en formatos Audiofilos en la página de Audiofiles Society. Lo puedes descargar como DSD o como PSM con mezcla separada para audífonos y bocinas. No te lo pierdas. Mis queridos audiófilos, bienvenidos al canal de Audiofilos y Locos. Un saludo desde la compañía Avis Audio. Recuerdan que recientemente hice una prueba de sus audífonos del buque insignia. Pues ahora estoy con los creadores de Avis Audio. Aquí tengo a Joe y a Eric. Ahora, esta entrevista va a ser en inglés, así que por favor, aprendan inglés. Okay, hi Joe and Eric.
Hey Pedro.
Thank you for having me here, for the hospitality.
No problem.
I just want to ask you a few questions about the company. You guys started with cables, right?
Yes, JPS Labs started in 1990 doing high-performance audio cables.
And what prompted you to become a headphone manufacturer?
Well, good question. We saw a market that didn't exist yet. And we weren't headphone guys at the time. We're two-channel speaker guys, did cables for speakers, did shows for years with speakers. But we saw the beginnings of it. We saw the beginnings of people, grassroots beginnings of a higher-end headphone industry starting. And we decided maybe we could do something with this. And out of the craziness of whatever, I don't know exactly where it came from, but it's like maybe we could try to produce a headphone because we didn't like anything that was out there. And so we worked at it for 5 years.
So you were basically a visionary.
Pretty much. I guess you could call it that.
Do you have a background in audio engineering?
We're engineers.
Right.
But the background where I started from was I worked for Bowers & Wilkins back in the mid-'80s. So I created a service department in the United States for their products, for Rotel and B&W. And I learned the high end from Bowers & Wilkins.
That was the golden era, in my opinion, of B&W. That was a great time.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, I own a brand new pair now. I have the 802 D4s at home.
Ooh.
They're beautiful speakers.
Fantastic speakers. The reason I ask you is because when I tried the 1266 for the first time, I had the impression that I was holding some professional tool, that it was meant to be used in a studio, that it was not a toy, that it was something you could knock around or hang it somewhere and put it on, take it off, and it would just last decades. I had the feeling that this was something that could be used by professionals in broadcast or in studios, but that was not your idea. You just wanted to make something that was really well made.
It was made for audiophiles at the time, the first one. Yeah.
The goal really was to figure out how to make a headphone that performed as good as we could figure out and ideally lasted a lifetime. We wanted it to be intrinsic in the design, that it was a durable, robust product that you could rely on. And at the time, in high-end audio, there really wasn't anything shooting for that target. And oddly enough, you still don't see it so much.
Yeah, and the 1266, the reality of it is, my goal was to make a headphone that sounded like my speaker system. It sounded like two speakers, two subs in a dedicated room. That was the idea. I have a room at home that was built for audio.
Do you have B&W speakers, 801s?
Way back in the day, I had 801s, the Series 2s,
because
from the 90s.
My impression was that it kind of reminded me of my 801s. That they
exactly.
were really good monitors, and they had features in the sound that were hidden, that you would not hear them until they were called upon, like low bass, for example. When you first put them on, you don't feel like they have a whole lot of low bass until you hear a Gran Casa bass drum, and suddenly there it is.
Right.
So,
well, that comes from my experience in the two-channel world. I've been hundreds of systems, we've used our cables with, shown with at shows. So I'm familiar with the overall general picture in 2-channel. And so the idea was, my system at home was tweaked around me, but running 2 JL Fathom subs helps a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had plenty of bass in my room. So again, how do we put that into a headphone? 2,000
Yes.
watt subs into a headphone. And so yeah, that was the goal, and I think we've obtained it. But the headphone, the 1266 you heard, that's an older model.
It's an original one,
The
yes.
original, yeah.
And I made that disclaimer when
Yeah.
I spoke about it. I
Yeah,
said
yeah,
that this was the first generation. I haven't heard the latest ones. And
Yep.
what does the nomenclature mean? The name, where did it come from?
So AB 1266 is pretty straightforward. AB is just abyss, and the 1266, the 12 is the year that we finalize the driver, and the 66 is the diameter of the diaphragm in millimeters. So it's sort of a technical name. We tried to come up with a naming scheme that was a bit more exciting, but we went with a technical name.
As engineers, we're not too good at that.
Yeah. Well, you succeeded with the Diana, though, right?
All right.
You have morphed yourselves into marketers now.
I agree. Well, you have to, for people to just see you to pay attention. You kind of do. You have to do some of that. But yeah, primarily, we're in the background. We're more of engineering in terms of design. You have to be. You can't make products like this by flipping a coin. You have to have a goal, and you have to work toward attaining that goal with. And there's a lot of detail involved. A lot of details in the, you know how they say the devil's in the details.
True, and I don't recall seeing a product that is more serviceable just by the way it's built. That seems like you could replace every part forever and ever if you needed to, than the 1266.
We've never had anyone damage the frame on a 1266. We ran it over with a Jeep in one of our videos, a Wrangler.
Really?
And then we gave the headphone away to a customer we had a drawing. He still uses that headphone. All it did was scratch it. The streets,
wow.
It scratched
I
the
believe
paint.
it.
We ran it was fine. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, the 1266 is built like a tank. So the frame, we've never had to replace a component on the frame. They're fine. Ear pads wear out, headbands wear out. They're leathers, but yeah.
I'll have to dig that up and try to watch it because I'm a big fan of your channel, but I haven't seen that one. Maybe some of my subscribers have seen it already.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, bottom line though is we carry that through to current models, and the Diana line is so well refined now. So
tell me more about the Diana. What was the genesis of the Diana then? Is it just a cheaper product, or just is it destined to a different kind of audiophile? What is it? What is its focus?
It's really a totally different product made for a totally different person. And I think a glance at it might give you some impression. 1266 is performance forward. It's the technical headphone that's just seeking to achieve a technical function, performance first. Diana is more about everything else as well. So it's trying to get the sound and the character of the 1266 in a headphone that fits on your head like a normal headphone that's more comfortable. It's
and
lighter.
It looks like a normal headphone.
Yeah, it's more conventional. You could wear it out maybe
yes.
even, and it's not so obtrusive. Because a lot of high-end headphones, that's sort of how it always has been. They're very, very large.
Yes.
And yeah, it's easier to make it work when it's large, but it's more of a technical challenge to make the smallest, lightest, most comfortable headphone work and achieve those levels of performance. And while we're at it, we tried to get a little lower price point too.
So does the Diana use the same drivers?
Very similar. They're not the same. They're all tuned differently. Each driver has a unique design to fit that particular chassis that it's in. And also we have some models have different sonic goals than others. For example, with MR, we wanted to minimize the impedance so that it can be driven on battery gear.
Yes.
Right. So with MR, it's a little bit different tuning too to work with lower end battery gear, where you get into like the new DZ model and it's tuned to work on the highest level gear you can afford.
Also, you can get the Diana in different impedance schemes?
Well, within those models. MR is a 30 ohm, DZ is 50.
Are you planning to make a 400 or 600 ohm one?
You wouldn't have enough amplifier to be able to drive it. No.
But the
No.
people who usually buy these headphones are audiophiles who have incredibly complicated amplifiers. Some people even drive them with the outputs of their Class A amplifiers.
To be honest with you, to make a high impedance headphone makes no sense to us from an engineering point of view.
Really?
Yeah, there's no reason for that. I mean, our driver designs don't tailor themselves well to being. Normally, you'll see high impedance with dynamic speaker drivers.
Of course, yes. I
Planar
understand.
drivers are because you have this much surface area and you have to fit a trace pattern onto that area. Whereas a dynamic, you can make finer windings and make it high impedance.
Right.
So it's really difficult. There's no reason for it in a planar. We've tried it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't afford you anything other than a thinner sound. It doesn't help the
Yeah.
sound. With a planar driver, the deal with planars is they like current, they like power, and that controls their motion. It dampens their motion and keeps it tight. And so it's difficult. It's difficult to do that with a high impedance. You're basically, it's not going to work well. It's not going to sound as good.
So does it have to do maybe more with the compliance of those kind of drivers or the way they need to move to generate the sound?
There's a few
Or is this
factors. It's just for
efficiency?
how we design the drivers. Most of the elements in the diaphragm are stressed to sensible limits anyways. The whole
Mhm.
system's designed. So the diaphragm itself, the actual substrate, and then the conductive traces that are on top of it that engage with the magnet, those are designed around the system. And so the expected amplifier you're going to plug it into and how much power you need to deliver to it. And there really is an appreciable advantage to making the thing higher impedance because it's not going to be lighter and it's not going to be sonically superior. There can be benefits with other driver technologies, but the way we're implementing it, it just makes it more challenging to drive at higher impedance. So pretty minor benefits for the most part. And you see a bit more benefit with things with a wound voice coil, like a dynamic conventional driver.
Yeah, a coil.
But we're already pretty much pushing the limits of the design, so there's not really much to do.
Yeah, and at those driver designs, the efficiency is way higher than on a planar.
Right.
Particularly in our case where we have a single magnet, it's only one-sided, so it's difficult to get efficiencies out of it. So to run high impedance just doesn't work. But it works well for some headphones. But in general, it also is more taxing on the amplification. I mean, regardless of how much you can afford, you're asking an amplifier manufacturer to do 16 ohms to 600 ohms, and if you ask them that, they tell you that's difficult to do properly. You see a lot of amps that are better at some impedances than others.
Yes, of course.
Most consumers don't know this.
I'm aware of it. I have quads.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yes.
I use quad speakers.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the impedance curve is
Yeah. Right.
crazy.
So you need like a 2 ohm capable.
15 ohm is most of the problem.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Higher
that's the
impedances,
problem.
yeah.
And you run into all kinds of things where and again, to us, a higher impedance is a fringe. It's like on the outskirts of what the norm is in headphones. So, you tend to the headphone may not sound the same on the same amplifier that a 50 ohm headphone would versus 300. So, again, you don't, we're already unique enough. We don't need to make drivers that are, way out there in the fringes of the amplifier's capabilities.
Well, I have to say I'm really impressed with your setup here in the factory, in the
Thank you.
shop. And one thing is also, I would have never thought what an avant-garde disposition you guys have as a company. I was really impressed with the fact that you have so many types of colors that can be chosen for your Diana headphones, but also the types of pads that you use. And so it really shows that you guys are in a momentum and that you're looking for future,
Absolutely.
customers of every kind. So will there be Diana Bluetooth headphones someday?
Well,
maybe.
Currently, it's capable of it. You just need a little box that fits in your pocket.
There you go. You can use it with a dongle. Right? It's rather efficient.
Companies like IFI do that. It's a $200, and
Yes.
The thing with Bluetooth is, it's getting better. The technology is getting better, but it does have limited resolution.
No, of course.
And
it's not an audiophile goal.
Yeah. So to us, it's like, well, we could do it, and we might do it one day. We're not saying we're not going to do it, but currently it complicates what we consider already a complicated headphone to build.
Yeah.
You got to add batteries and a
Yeah,
charger,
chips.
and it's a whole different system.
God forbid chips. Yes.
Yeah, right. Or yeah, chips. Yeah. If Apple was willing to borrow us their chipsets, we would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If we could take what their tech is and capabilities
Okay.
are, that would be pretty cool. But to do a standard Bluetooth implementation, you get a little box you put in your pocket, and you have a good headphone for home, and you could still travel.
And you could even change a little amplifier, the little dongles,
or upgrade it. Yeah. So for us, the level of headphone is important, critical.
Of course.
And you could buy the accessories to use it for those applications, no problem. So
yeah, I guess ideally it would be a setup like some companies already make very expensive Bluetooth headsets that have a built-in DAC that then you can connect it with a cable, and that way you would sort of bypass the Bluetooth. But more of a headache. You guys are busy making good headphones. Why bother, right?
Yeah, well, it's not our thing right now.
I'd like to try it one day, but there's some technical challenges. So I think the future is looking a little brighter as time goes on with Bluetooth and stuff. So maybe it'll be more feasible soon enough.
Well, looking at the way you guys are set up, I don't see any challenges for you.
It's just time.
Yes. And I want to congratulate you and thank you for your hospitality.
No problem. Thank you.
And,
thanks for visiting.
Thank you so much. And I'm getting a pair of Dianas to try. So I'm very excited about this.
Cool.
So stay on, amigos. Muchas gracias.
Thank
Hasta
you.
pronto.
Take care.